You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 31st special meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning. I'll go ahead and open up this special hearing for the Board of Public Works and Safety for today is March 31st, 2025. And this is a special hearing for an emergency demolition for 301 East Barker Avenue. I'll call the roll. Mr. Simmons is absent. Ms. Tisdale.
Present.
Ms. Smith.
Present.
Ms. Moore.
Present.
Mr. York is present. Attorney LePage.
Here.
Our only order of business today is for an emergency demolition for 301 East Barker Avenue and to have a public hearing on this for an emergency demolition. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Attorney LePage to set the record and begin this process.
Okay. Thank you. So for purposes of this emergency hearing today, I believe the city is here by several representatives. Ms. Vanderberg, could you identify yourself and also identify for the record those city employees that will also be testifying here today?
Sure. My name is Christine Vanderborg. I work with the City of Michigan City Code Enforcement Officer. Sue Downs, Building Commissioner, will present information and testimony, as well as Tim Warner, our city engineer. I'm sorry, Jeff Bruder, Fire Marshal for Michigan City as well.
Excellent.
And for purposes of the church, I also see representatives here. If anybody is going to testify or present any evidence, can you please come to the microphone, identify yourself, who you're with, and your address, please?
Good morning. My name is Ani Ikene.
Can you spell that for me, sir?
Ani is spelled A-N-I. First name, last name I-K-E-N-E.
Thank you so much. And your address, sir?
My address is 2421 South Michigan Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46614.
Thank you. And who are you here on behalf of today?
I'm here on behalf of Fountain of Life and Kingdom Harvest House of Praise Incorporated. I am the senior pastor.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here on behalf of any of the church or identified defendants with you today that you plan on having present any testimony?
No, I might have a witness that I just found out here in the place.
And who would that be?
Kathy is the neighbor to the church.
Kathy Stransky? Okay. So if anybody is going to present testimony today, can you please come down to the front so I can swear you in under oath? Can you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear under the pains and penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Please have a seat. So what we'll do is we'll start the proceeding. We'll let Ms. Vanderberg take the lead on behalf of the city. And then, sir, you'll have an opportunity to ask her any questions and then present any evidence you'd like to for this board.
Good morning, everybody. We are here about 301 East Barker Avenue. So back in November of 2024, the property was condemned. And the reason for condemnation was we had a west wall that was bowing out at the time. Structurally unsafe. Sue Downs, a building commissioner, had ordered the utilities disconnected from the church, the gas, the electric. In between November, December, January, we've had several conversations with Lisa Jackson, the pastor, who was representing the church. She had assured us that she was going to get a structural engineer for a professional evaluation. She did contact a engineer from Silver Creek out of Indianapolis, Indiana. She included a copy of the proposal for the engineering firm. They met, the engineering firm and Lisa Jackson met on January 28th, 2025. And at that point, she reported that they're waiting for reports. Fast forward, March 10th, the evening of, the west wall of the church imploded. So we have brick pretty much falling on the west side, onto the sidewalk, a little bit on the street. We had called the fire department out, the building commissioner came out. We had emergency fencing put around the building. Since then, we had portions of the wall were air conditioning unit, structural component around the window had came down as well. In the meantime, while this was going on, we tried contacting Miss Jackson regarding of the incident that night. There was no response. I finally sent an email to her on the 25th, I believe, of March. And she responded back, thanking me for reaching out, and she was in Illinois in intensive care. So at this point, we're asking for emergency demolition due to the fact of the safety concern. We're around children. We have school crossing there, school crossing guard. We have a major intersection where we have cars, a pretty good heavy flow of cars, buses, people picking up children, dropping off kids for school.
Ms. Vanderberg, prior to you handed us a packet with pictures, your assessment order for demos. Would you like me to receive this into evidence and mark it as Exhibit A?
I would.
Okay. So moved. Did you provide the church with a copy of the same?
I can right now.
Please. And also, do you have the affidavit of service of process as well?
I do.
Can you please present that to the board and I'll mark that as Exhibit B and accept that into evidence? Is there anything else you'd like to present?
Tim Werner and Sue Downs, as far as their testimony of as far as the condition goes and the timeline of events as well.
Okay, so before we present them, does the church have any questions of Ms. Vanderberg? If so, please come to the microphone. No questions? Okay, so then, Ms. Vanderberg, if you present the next.
I'd like to hear from Sue Downs, building commissioner, in regards to this.
Don't know that I have any, hi, Sue Downs, City of Michigan City. I don't know that I have a whole lot to add. Fire Marshal Jeff and I were out there that the day that, the day that we had issues with it and felt it was important to disconnect the services at that point because of the proximity. The electric meter and the gas meter were literally this far apart. Had the wall collapsed, we felt we had to take it down. We had to disconnect at that point, and that was in the fall. So we also chose to disconnect the water because it was winter and we didn't want freezing. So we just felt those things were necessary. We felt it's an unsafe structure and it had the possibility of collapse at any point from that point forward. Lack of maintenance was the biggest thing. They just didn't maintain it. Water got inside, freezes, thaws, and had it been maintained, I don't think we would be standing here today. But Chris has pretty much summed it up for us.
Ms. Downs, just before you, does the board have any questions of Ms. Downs?
Sue, is that the first time you've had to deal with this building? Either one of you? Just curiosity. Have you been called out on it before? I feel like it's, I don't know.
We were called out back in, I'm going to say July of last year. And that's when we began correspondence with Ms. Jackson, Pastor Jackson.
Okay.
And she made a lot of promises about getting someone there to evaluate. And I do know she had a couple of contractors in there because they called me afterwards
Okay.
with questions about what I would expect. But then there was no progress from that point on. I don't know if it's resources or what, but she just said that they weren't ready to move at that point, and I was not willing to wait. So I felt it was necessary at that point to condemn the structure.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Downs, before you leave, just can you articulate, it sounds like you have been dealing with this for several months. How did it become an emergency now?
When the wall collapsed, that was when we realized that we had to take some action. The kids, there are many children around. In fact, even the day that it went down, as I was standing out there, I had to constantly ask the kids to get away until we got the fencing up. But that's what made it an emergency.
And
We knew that a collapse was imminent.
and
That
what
just
day
made
was that
us-
again?
March 10th.
And as you stand here today, do you believe it's a life safety hazard?
I believe it is because of its proximity. If that goes down, I really feel like someone's going to become seriously injured or killed.
And for the
If that
record,
go
can
down.
you say what the proximity is to?
Because of the busy intersection, because of the school literally right across the street. School children are going back and forth all day, all the time, going to the park, going back and forth to school. And even just a minor collapse at this point could seriously injure someone.
Thank you. Does the board have any follow-up questions? Does the church have any questions for Ms. Downs? No? Okay, thank you.
I'm going to ask Tim Warner to testify as far as what he's seen for structural and what he believes as far as its imminent danger.
Good morning, Tim Warner, city engineer. When I started with the city first week, February of 2024 last year, shortly thereafter, it was brought to my attention that there was a church with a failing wall at 301. I went and took a look. I think Skylar York Planner went with me, and we saw there was a rather large displacement on the west wall out towards the street, could be up to a foot, I think, at that time. Through the following year, we kind of kept an eye on it and kept looking at it. During the winter of this year, it looked like there was larger displacement. And then on March 10th, the wall collapsed. After that collapse, I went out. I was there in the evening taking a look at it. I saw Sue Downs out there, and we talked about getting the fence around it for protection. So that was done. On the following week, I went and took a look again, and it looked like originally it's just the brick veneer fell off to the west. On the following week, with more stress on the timber frame inside, it looked like the timber frame for that corner where the bricks fell off had begun to fail too. So the timber was displacing out as well, and the foundation blocks below were crumbling away, which I didn't notice on the 10th. And that's when we had our discussion that we thought we need to move forward with an emergency demolition. I was asked the following week to go take a look at the steeple too, and I noticed that there was some displacement of the brick above some of the windows in the steeple section along Barker Ave. There was also displacement above the door on the west side going in under the steeple for the doors, and there had been insulation or something pressed in between the brick and the actual frame on the inside. So even that face of the steeple area of the church had been pulling and displacing out to the west. It seemed like it was an immediate problem that needed to be corrected since there was already some failure on the west wall further to the south.
The board have any additional questions for the city engineer?
Yeah, I went out there with him that day, and I think even the east wall is starting
I
to
did look at some.
buckle as well. The only wall there that looks like it's not being displaced is the rear wall
The
because
south
it's
wall,
on
yeah.
the sun every day,
Yeah.
but the other walls are very bad displaced.
So no additional questions on for
Does any of this seem to be repairable?
After the failure of the wall, anything is repairable if you have the money to do it. I don't know that we find $1 million to fix these structural failures that appear to be going on there. I mean, that's stressing it, but you need to support everything that's there now, which means you have to provide a structure externally to the building that's going to support the walls that are there now, as well as begin to do your work internally. It's going to be a very expensive process to try to save the structure of that building now.
Any additional questions from the board? Any questions from the church to our city engineer? No. Okay.
And then I'm going to present my last witness, Jeff Bruder, Fire Marshal of Michigan City.
Good morning, Jeff Bruder, Fire Marshal. Testimony that you've heard here today is true. By all accounts, what they've spoke of is exactly what has happened. We made the decision to discontinue services to the church just because, in the name of safety, the fact that the gas and electric were on the same wall, apparently the same wall that had collapsed. And there are some other structural issues with the building. It's sad. I hate to say that, but being here for almost 30 years and seeing that church every day, but you can see what the lack of maintenance, what happens to an old building like that. It's unfortunate, but in the name of safety, I think the building needs to come down.
Mr. Bruder, can you just identify what other structural issues you're seeing?
We noticed on the actual steeple of the church, there's some displacement of brick. There are some cracks. It appears that over the years, the paint has covered a lot of that, which, if you walk up to it, you can see some of the deformities and deficiencies in the building. The fact the building didn't have any reliable gutter system on the church. If you look at the east wall, you can see where a lot of the where the water has just been running over the years. It's washed all the grout outside of the brick, out of the mortar, has washed completely away, and seems to be some issues right there in that corner as well. So I agree with Mr. Warner and Skylar York that that back wall is probably the best wall that has integrity left in that building.
Does the board have any questions of Mr. Bruder? No? The church have any questions for Mr. Bruder? No. Thank you.
With that being said, like I said, it's a safety issue. It's a public, it's emergency. It truly is. We have a playground over 100 feet away from the church, of a busy intersection. I would hope that the board would affirm the emergency order to demolish this structure. I do have estimates as far as from responsible contractors as well for the demolition costs.
Just for the record, because this is, we're proceeding on an emergency basis, are you indicating to the board that you don't have time to formally solicit for the next 30 days quotes and publish the same?
Correct. I do not have time. This is
So time is of the essence.
essence. Correct.
Any additional questions from the board? Okay. Church, any questions of Ms. Vanderberg?
What will be the cost to do the demolition?
You can answer it, please.
Okay.
Yeah, just what you've received to date.
We received 8 bids from 68,500 all the way up to 158,800. So $158,800. And that's a full contaminated demolition, meaning they're going to remove all decontaminants, which is asbestos, lead, anything other they find it's a safety hazard to the contaminants to the ground and stuff, such like that. The 2 other bids I do have, they're just tear down and remove brick, no other abatement.
You have had the opportunity to speak with the contractors regarding why there's such disparity between the amounts, correct?
Actually, I'm gonna let Sue Downs testify to that. She's the one that's been in contact with the contractors.
The biggest difference in the cost of these is that if we allow someone to go in the building, which we have made the decision not to allow anyone to go into the building, if we would let them go into the building, they could test it for asbestos and other contaminants, lead and things like that, and perhaps abate it and potentially save us some money, but it's a matter of whether we want to risk someone becoming injured or killed if they go inside the building. So that's the decision that someone will have to make as to whether we go forward with it. When you do a contaminated demolition, when you just knock a building to the ground, everything has to be assumed to be contaminated. So it has to stay wet all the time. You have to have a certified monitor who stands there and watches it. You're going to pay somebody to stand there and watch this and certify that every bit of it went into a lined truck and went to a special dump site that accepts that type of materials. So there's a lot of added expense when you do a contaminated demolition as opposed to this. So yes, potentially we could save some money if we went in and did the abatement. There's, you're going to look at $20,000-$30,000 possibly for the abatement itself. So you got to add that to these if we choose to abate it first, but someone would have to go inside to make that happen.
Does the board have any additional questions for Ms. Downs?
Is there any reason why we wouldn't want to do a contaminated demolition?
I
mean,
someone, I guess, you guys, someone will have to decide, based upon this, someone's life could be in jeopardy.
What year was the building built in?
115, yeah, it's 1908.
1902, something like that.
Yeah.
It's likely to have asbestos, it's likely to have lead in
The
it.
likelihood of finding it may not be the same asbestos as what we're thinking, but it's going to have something in it. Probably wrapped pipes, things of that nature. Yeah.
And those would have to be abated if we chose to do just a standard demolition. Those would have to be abated. So not only would someone have to go in and test, they would have to abate those items. They would have to remove the wrap from the pipes. They would have to remove the lead around the windows. They would have to take care of any tiles that contained asbestos and things. So we're not talking somebody going in one time. We're talking someone going in, testing it, determining if they're there, if the contaminants are there, and removing those contaminants. And then you can do a standard demolition that you could get as cheap as $68,500. But you're taking a chance on someone's, life by doing that.
It looks like the full contamination, there's only one.
There's only one who
It's
is willing to do
very
it.
specialized kind of process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are a specialty. They actually know how to do contaminated demolitions. We've worked with them before on contaminated demolitions. So.
Any other questions for Ms. Downs, the board? Church, do you have any questions for Ms. Downs?
I only saw your estimate was the first one. I didn't have the rest.
Here's the difference. This is just to knock it to, I asked them to quote knocking it to the ground because I was concerned about time. This is if we abate it first, if we test it and abate it, and this is if we take it as a contaminated demolition.
Okay.
Ms. Vandenberg, any additional evidence or are you resting at this point?
No, the only thing I can say is the full contaminated demolition would probably be the best option because we do have children. Children are susceptible to lead poisoning and such like that. We don't want that in the area. Same with asbestos and stuff. Right? There's little ones running around. There's young adults. It could be, detrimental to their health as well. So, that's it. I rest.
Does the board have any additional questions? Okay. Church, would you like to present any evidence here today?
So number one, I want to be on record. I'm not representing, I'm here because I'm not representing God's Grace Ministries. I'm representing Kingdom Harvest, House of Praise Incorporated. I am also, want to be on record that we did not receive any complaint or anything until the 24th of March. And I also want to address the board by saying that I have not really owned the building since September 3rd, 2005. We were on land contract with God's Grace Ministries, Jack Binning, Jack and Annie Binnings of God's Grace Ministries. And they rented the building. They leased it from us. I do not have my records because I did not have the opportunity to do due diligence or talk to my attorney. But when I was able to meet with him, he told me the best thing to do is just to show up. On 2019, I believe it was the 25th, I don't have the record, Mr. Binning approached me and said that now that they've paid up, their payment were irregular. So I gave the ministry to the building to them because as a Christian, we do ministry. That's what we do. We serve people, we touch people's lives. And we had a good relationship when we were there. We repaired the place. When we got in, it was very bad. We did all we can. We did something to the roof. We put new carpet and everything. We took a good care of the place. We were proud of it. And Kathy here can testify of how we maintained the place for the 10 years that we had it, from 1999 to 2005. We left the work to God's Grace Ministries. They are not friends, they are not relatives. We just, because we believe they're Christians, we gave them that building because we were about to list it for sale. When we bought it from the Lindsay, it was not in good condition, but we put it up to a very top condition that we were proud of. In 2019, like I said, I don't have the actual date. Mr. Binnings came to us because he's paid off his what he owed us, the rent. And he said that the county wanted him to bring a document that is notarized. I said the contract is notarized because I have a lawyer. He said, no, that's all they wanted was for me to notarize it. And he said, okay, just go. I don't need to call my lawyer. He said, no. So we went to the bank, which was next door to us, and the bank stamped it. And he took that document, which I went to the city, I went to the county to collect, and I have that as that he placed that on a land contract and registered it. And I don't know what is required in the LaPorte County, but I expected him to, after he paid off, to then title the thing to himself, because for me, that will be, for me, it will be money. I can use that power to borrow, but I don't know what he did. So I think there was an error, or he did not understand what they required from him. So on 25th of January 2019, he went to the county and he only put the land contract. I'm almost thinking that he was asked to bring the deed and everything. But he told me that was not necessary. I said, okay, we walked down together and we did that to the bank. And so the building is not really Fountain of Life. It is not really for Kingdom Harvest. And what I will plead here, if I knew that it wasn't mine for 20 years, maybe I would have done something. So we were unable to do anything. This caught me in the midst of trying everything. In fact, my lawyer had to go to his office on Saturday to say, I don't know what you want what to do, because we received the registered mail, 4 of them, same day on the 24th, I think 24th or 25th. And he didn't have time to look at it. I didn't have time to look at it until Friday. I run down. I called her. I said, what's all this? I don't know anything about this. So we ran around to get this done. So what I'm saying is that our Kingdom Harvest and Fountain of Life is not responsible for a building that we've left for 20 years. So, and to be made liable at this point in time is an error that I think that the person who leased the building had a misunderstanding of what was required of him. When I buy a house in St. Joe County, where I live, you go and you take your deed and quit claim and whatever you have, you take it there. He was asked to bring something. He told me that I just needed to notarize the one he has, and I did that. So on the 20th of 2019, we were totally free. He had not owed us. I mean, there was owing, but that's not about what we are after. We're after the kingdom of God and people living for God. So that's our plea, is that we had nothing. If you want the land contract, you can. I mean, this is from LaPorte. I went to the LaPorte County Assessor's Office to get this on Friday by 4 p.m. So,
Sir, would you like me to mark that as an exhibit and enter it into?
I did not make copies. Unfortunately, the storm yesterday destroyed things in my area, so I have not had electricity. I had to pull my guy out.
We can make a copy for you if
Okay,
you'd like
yes.
it introduced into evidence.
Yes, I
Okay.
can. I would like to introduce this as an
So
evidence.
We'll mark that as Respondents Exhibit A and accept that land contract into evidence.
I think, Mayor,
We'll make a copy of it and get it back to you.
Okay.
Um,
I
if you guys
think
wanna let you guys.
I wanted the date to be clear that it's been since September. I hope I made that clear that they have leased the building, so this can be the second. You can make that. And I had to force them to make the actual meet my lawyer in 2014. So
Okay, and what was the second document you presented?
is the original date. I said they've only seen September
Okay.
2005.
So the original rental and lease agreement.
Correct.
We'll mark that as Respondents Exhibit B and enter that. We'll make a copy as well for you, sir.
Thank you.
Pastor, any additional evidence you'd like to present?
I mean, I didn't have the opportunity to talk to my lawyer to get anything, so the church. So I will plead with the board. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine, sir.
That the church is not being ours. I'm only responding here because I love the building. Billy Graham preached in the building. There was a pulpit that Billy Graham had there, and I wanted it, and I have not had the opportunity to take it. So, and when I was here, I called the Historic Society, wanted to make sure that it's historic because of how big the place is. And my neighbor can testify, we had that place, and I walked down. I lived on Homer Street when I helped the church. So this broke my heart. I've not been around the area until I got this note, and it's like, what's going on? So,
Does the board have any questions for Pastor Akeen? No. Ms. Vanderburg, do you have any additional questions for him?
I think the question I have is, did you receive?
Can you go into the microphone, please? Thank you.
So the question I have is, being it's a registered land contract, did you not receive any tax notices, even though you don't pay tax, your tax, that you still get a notice or anything that represents saying that you still own the property?
no, I have not received anything because the building has been not for profit for a very long time. And so whatever notice came to them, they probably had it. So I don't have anything.
Thank you. And you would like Ms.
Thank you.
Stransky to testify as well, correct?
You wanted to say something?
I guess what I want to say is that church, and I've lived on my block in Barker Ave. I've been connected there. I'm 70. We moved there. I was 4. The church was always on the corner. The church was never an issue. It was never an issue. Sunday morning, a few cars, yes, but it was never an issue. They never caused commotion. They never did anything to the neighborhood. They were very respectful, and we were very respectful. Thank you.
Ms. Stransky, just before you sit down, does the board have any additional questions of Ms. Stransky? No. Ms. Vanderburg, do you have any additional questions? Okay. All right. Any final arguments? Any final statements?
I have none.
Does the church have any final statements? Pastor Akin, do you have any final statements to the board? Any final statements you'd like to say?
No, I have no other statement other than to ask it, to tell the board that we don't own the building and we want to be absolved of any cost.
Thank you.
Thank you.
President York, I'm going to turn the hearing back over to you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
I have one real quick
Ms.
question.
Moore, ask your question.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
When was the last time anybody from the congregation has practiced there? A long time, like long time meaning years, months?
Months.
That I've seen anybody.
And I would assume a decision
So-
was made.
How about this? How about we let them come up and
Yeah, let's let them come up so that we can get it, the record. Kathy, if you don't mind.
It's been at least since last fall since they've had any church services, and they haven't even really been going in and out, checking it or
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
It's been just sitting there.
I mean, I don't live here, so I don't know when that happened last. Unfortunately, as I was trying to get down here, the Binnings have been sick, had stroke, I'm told. And the person they handed over is, I don't know her. She's not on my record. Is the one that responded to your email. I took that note, was in intensive care. So I have not like that.
Can you remind us, Ms. Vanderberg, the Lisa who we were working with, that's not a land, that is a rental situation or the leasing situation?
I'm not sure of the situation other than
Okay.
she was a representative of the church, Lisa Benning.
Okay.
She's the one that came down for the Board of Works meeting back in
Yes.
November
Yes.
because of the condemnation and such.
Okay.
She had identified herself as the interim pastor.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's been a while. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So, to be clear, your church leased the church to the Bennings on a land contract, which they paid off, but never had recorded.
Yes,
So if we look on Beacon, you're still listed as the owner.
that's what, yes.
Okay, so that's out of our scope. But now Ms. Jackson that came before our board just represents the Bennings, or I think that, yeah,
That's what I believe so.
that's what our understanding is. Okay.
So, okay, thank you.
No. Yeah, I don't know that we have anything to do with the county records or anything of that nature, I would assume. Yeah, that's a civil matter. Okay, and I would like to just state that we have identified that we do have, we have identified pots of money that we do have to cover the demo as of right now. I know that's something that we always ask. Do we have the money? Yes, we do. The answer is yes. There's 3 pots of money that we use. CDBG is available. We have demo funds in our code enforcement, and we have RDC, Redevelopment Commission money as well. At a city level, we're trying not to drain either one of those and making sure that we are being respective, because we do have other demos that we need to accomplish this year. So that being said, I just want to get that out there. There is money available. We're just trying to be making sure that we're using it smartly. Okay. I would, Attorney LePage, this is a public hearing. I should open it up for public comment.
no, this is an administrative.
Okay, just
matter, but
administrative.
I believe the church, Pastor Akeem may have one additional,
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
but no, administrative hearings are not open up.
Okay,
for
we're
public
good.
comment.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Earlier on, this was given to me and I wasn't thinking about it. So this evidence that was given, I'm not representing the church there, so I think this should be passed on to them. I only came here to plead that and testify that it was in my record. So I since they were at the meeting before, they had other information that I was not privileged to. So I'll return this because,
So nobody was at a meeting.
okay.
Sorry. There was no official form meeting. It was just a public comment when she came in. But everybody did receive, this is all the information, my due diligence for the property itself, showing that you have a land contract, showing that you are on a tax record as being the owner of the property along with God's grace. This is everything you need as far as moving forward, when we do demo the property. So this is for your record.
So it's not, okay, so if they were here, they could have gotten.
They're, yeah,
Okay.
everyone would
All right.
get,
Thank you.
everyone has copies.
That's
yeah.
very clear.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody accusing me that I collected their information because I wasn't privileged to the previous meetings
Yeah.
or citations.
Attorney LePage, I'm looking at you. What is our next course of
so-
action here that we need to?
Right now, the administrative hearing is now closed, so the board has the ability to take final action by virtue of a motion. Whether or not you're going to affirm the emergency order for demo, deny it, or modify it in any way, shape, or form. So that's what the board needs to do.
Thank you. You've heard Attorney LePage. Any further questions, or would we like to take an action? And if so, would anyone like to make a motion, or are there questions?
I'd like to make a motion to affirm code enforcement's decision to demolish the building, giving them the authority to choose the contractor based on this emergency situation. I know we've got several bids.
Second.
I'm going to call for the vote. Ms. Tisdale,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. I really appreciate all of you coming today, and I appreciate the testimony of our departments and the due diligence of our departments. Thank you so much for doing this, and I appreciate the neighbors and the representatives as well. Thank you.
Then a motion to adjourn.
Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
You have to have a second.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.